line quicker than me. He's got softer tyres. He'll be down into this corner ahead of me, and I'll be looking in my mirrors and hoping there's not some crazy, hungry racing driver like Lando Norris, for example, diving down the inside.
I think if you're Max Verstappen, you're thinking about the exit. You want to get to turn 5, the hairpin at the end of this sequence of corners, clearly in the lead. Max has got a bit of room on the outside in case he needs it, in case he gets a bit close with Lewis. But he, as Damon mentioned, will be hoping to get off the line clearly on that set of soft tyres, perfectly release the clutch, blend it with the throttle, and come out in front.
It's not Damon, it's Lewis. You can go back to being yourselves now. Listen, we better get off track because the pit lane's about to open. Can't wait.
Yes, the sound of engines firing up. We'll let them get off at the first corner and join Ted Kravitz. Ted, what have you got for us?
Thank you, Simon. Yes, just outside the Championship 2 garages, just to see them out of the garage. So Max Verstappen sat in there. Of course, the pit lane here goes underneath the track, so that's how Natalie and Damon and Karun are allowed to be where they are, because they actually go underneath the turn 1 and then go out. But story of the weekend has to be all about Mercedes against Red Bull. Yes, it is. Mercedes come here off a hat-trick of wins, but Red Bull set their car up better for qualifying, and with some great teamwork between Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen, drafting each other, slipstreaming each other, giving each other a tow, they grab pole position. But on paper, it's that man in that car, Lewis Hamilton, who's got the better race strategy, starting on those yellow tyres. But down here in the pit lane, David Croft, I'm interested in what Lando Norris can do from second, from third on the grid. What do you think up in there in the commentary box? But interestingly, Crofty, look, Max Verstappen just still taking his time, taking a little bit of moments to think about when he wants to go out, and how nervous must be that man, Jos the Boss Verstappen, at the back of the garage. Crofty, up to you in the commentary box.
Yeah, thanks ever so much, Ted. You can't see him, I don't think, at the moment, but Jos Verstappen is standing right at the back of that garage, watching his son once again getting into the cockpit and eventually coming out into the pit lane. Lando Norris, you mentioned, starting third today, his best starting position since he got pole at the Russian Grand Prix, and his McLaren team have told him to go for it. Don't think about trying to keep out of trouble, because often that can be the wrong decision. Either way, here we are after kick-starting this season in March the 28th in Bahrain. After 3,800 miles of racing, 1,238 laps, we are down to the title decider. Max Verstappen is ahead because he's won more races than Lewis Hamilton this season. It's the second time that the scores have been level going into the final race of the season. 1974 was the last time we had that. It is the fourth time we've had a title decider here in Abu Dhabi, which also played host to the last decider, where the driver leading the championship didn't waltz off with the silverware at the end. That was Fernando Alonso losing out in a four-way shootout to Sebastian Vettel. We've had 13 1-2 finishes this season involving Lewis Hamilton, that man there, and Max Verstappen. Max has won 6 of those, Lewis has won 7. But of his last 6 starts from second, where he lines up today, Lewis has finished behind Max 5 times. He has, though, won a title decider from second, here in 2014 when Nico Rosberg was on pole. Max has won 6 times from pole this season. Podium for him today breaks the record for the most podiums in a single season. If Lewis wins, it'll be his 4th victory in a row for the 8th time in his career, and of course a record-breaking 8th world title. Or will Max end a run of 13 world titles in a row for a British or a German driver? That's the stats ahead of this. Who knows what's to come? Not long to find out now. Simon.
Okay, for those of you that might not tune into Formula 1 all the time, explain what's going on at the front of the grid. Max Verstappen will start on the soft tyres and Lewis Hamilton alongside on the medium tyres. What will that mean for the race and the start of the race?
So I just spoke to the Pirelli boss, Mario Isola, who of course has all the data, and he said, ooh, it's going to be quite short with that soft tyre, because it will only last 15 to 20 laps. If it is the case like that, then that's quite a worry for Red Bull.
It is. Their strategy is very limited. It has to become really a two-stop race. Whereas Lewis starting on the medium tyre, because obviously you have the soft, medium and hard tyre, and you have to run two different tyres during the race. He has every opportunity in the race now, so it's a tricky one. I'd still rather be on pole position on the soft tyre. I really would. What would you rather be?
No, you're right, yes, because he has track position, and that's a big thing. But Lewis being on the medium does give him a great chance today in the race.
What we haven't talked about is teammates and how important they can be strategically. Sergio Perez is in 4th. Valtteri Bottas, who's Lewis Hamilton's teammate, is in 6th. Can they do anything today? Will Lewis be worried about Sergio Perez in his wing mirrors?
He should be, yes, because Sergio's job is to help Max this weekend, and they will try lots of different things with the strategy to hold up Lewis, which is just normal, and they would do the same with Valtteri at Mercedes. A little bit more difficult because he's starting back in P6, but they've already used Checo fantastically yesterday in qualifying, helping Max get pole position.
But where Bottas could come in today is in that first pit stop from Max. If Max drops behind Bottas on the road and Bottas holds him up after Max's pit stop, that could really hand the win to Lewis. So Bottas might have a really crucial role today.
Obviously, no one can afford any mistakes at all. They will be punished. It could cost you a championship. Can Lewis afford to be patient, particularly on the first lap?
Yes, exactly what Lewis should be is patient on the first lap.
I don't agree with that at all, Jensen. It's go for it into turn one, dive down the inside, try and get the wheel in there.
I totally don't think that's the right call, because I don't think Max will give him the space and they'll end up off the circuit, game over. So I really don't think that's the right move. I think you've got to think about this race a little bit more. Think about the checkered flag, not just about that turn one.
Okay. What about the team principles and just the mood in both camps? It's not just, let's remember, it's not just the drivers that are under pressure. It is both of the team principals. Christian Horner for Red Bull, Toto Wolff, you know well, for Mercedes. They have traded blows all season. And then, of course, there's the pit crews and the mechanics. They make a mistake at a pit stop, well, they won't be sleeping tonight, probably for the next couple of weeks.
No, we often forget that, how everybody has such an important role. Even the mechanic changing the front right wheel today. If he makes a little error and it costs him 3 seconds, the championship could be gone. You know, so it's incredible how a whole team is under so much pressure today going into this.
Did they appreciate you guys having a word with them? Would you sometimes talk to your side of the garage before an important race and just, you know, give them your support?
Yeah, I mean, you can never do enough of that as a driver, and surely we never did enough of that. But yes, that always went a long way if we did have a little moment for that, yes.
Yeah, positive, you know, good days, bad days. It's always good to speak to the guys, the mechanics, because they're the guys that are building your car to go and win races. But yeah, I would say the mechanics that are on the wheel guns, it's the most nerve-wracking job ever this weekend. The drivers, yeah, it's a long race. If they make a mistake, they can make up for it. The pit crew can't. They make a mistake, it's game over.
They practice, don't they? They get it so fine-tuned, it's under 2 seconds sometimes. I mean, that is the blink of an eye almost, and it could go wrong or it could go right.
No, absolutely. And today, everything has to go right to be able to win this race and win the championship. Back to you, Jensen. You said earlier Lewis should take it a bit carefully in turn one. Remember, the stewards have said, if you don't leave space, Max, we're going to take points away from you from the championship. So that is there, you know, the pressure.
Well, a lot of people have said, why have they done that now when this is just another race and we've not had it before? Is it because it's a championship decider and it's important to have the threat of that looming over them so we don't see a Senna Prost from 89 or 90?
Yeah, definitely. Nobody wants to see that. We want to see a great fight between these two here today, and because they're on equal points. You know, one of them could easily push the other one off. Max would win the championship because he has more wins. So it's the right call. They've not used this regulation for a very long time, if ever. But it's part of the stewards. It's in their book of penalties.
Yeah, things that you can be punished with. Right, we have been asking for your opinion on who you might think, or who you will think will win the race today. If you want to vote, skysports.com/play. At the moment, 52-48 in Lewis's favour. It has been tight all weekend, I can tell you that. No one can make up their mind with regards to who this championship is going to go to. As we have a quick look at Kimi Räikkönen, who'll be starting from 18th today in his final race. I mean, his 349th race start. You guys raced against him. Let's just move away from the front two for a moment and consider this guy. 2 decades in the sport. It's quite incredible.
It is, and you know, I've raced with Kimi most of my career. You know, he had 2 years out to go and play in a rally car and in NASCAR, and then he realised Formula One's the pinnacle, so he came back. But no, I've had a great career alongside Kimi. He's a tough cookie. You know, you put him in anything and he drives quick. Especially when he was in McLaren. For me, those were his best years, even though he won the championship in Ferrari.
Yeah, exactly. The last Ferrari driver to win a world championship.
And I think what we appreciate so much from him is his authenticity. You know, he just doesn't care, says what he thinks, and that's quite rare in this sport. So I think we've all really liked that over the years.
Okay, Lewis's car making its way to the front of the grid. Half an hour to go until lights out. Let's join Martin Brundle for his grid walk.
So this is it then, the big showdown. Carnival atmosphere here. The crowd in overlooking the track. Great atmosphere there. Sergio Perez won. Sergio, can you get involved in this race today? You've got the soft tyres on, starting P4.
Well, for me, it's another race, you know. It's one more race. I have to do my thing. I have to try and score as many points for the team. And if there's a way I can support Max, of course we will. But my main target is to get into that podium.
Good luck. Have a good one. Right. Let's have a quick word. Okay. Let's have a quick chat. There's Usain Bolt and Chris Gale here. Usain, Martin Brundle, Sky F1. Good to see you on the grid. Yeah. It's 169 metres down to the first corner. Your kind of territory. Who do you think is going to win this tonight, 2 hours from now?
For me, I have Lewis winning. I think he has proven himself to be one of the best. And I know he must be excited to prove himself this time because it's always been easy, but now it's going to be testing him a lot. I know he's excited.
Have you had a chance to have a word with Lewis?
No, I'm going to try to say a little bit to him now.
Yeah, his head might be down on the grid, but really good to see you on the grid.
Yeah, for sure, thank you.
Cheers, have a quick chat with Chris. Chris, hi, Martin Brundle, Sky F1, welcome to the grid. Your first time here at a Grand Prix?
Second time.
Good stuff, and you're with Usain, yeah, you're cheering for Lewis?
Yeah, I'm cheering for Lewis, you know, the legend you're seeing, you know, so it's been a fantastic one. Should be a good race, I'm looking forward to it. You know, Max, I will be happy for both of them.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll bowl each other out, we don't know. We're looking,
exactly,
we're keeping an eye on that.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Love you guys.
Okie dokie, let's keep moving on. Let's go towards the front. So this is the last race of this era of car, really, basically. And here's another gentleman I'd like to talk to. Very, very famous man. And we'll wander around here and see if we can. Where are we? No, he's further down. I'll keep an eye out for him. But yeah, we'll have a look at the side of the cars, because if we can get anywhere near them, actually, we'll wander through. And yeah, is he up for a chat? Okay, let's have a chat with the boss of Mercedes-Benz. Olaf, hi, how are you?
I'm good, how are you?
The boss of Mercedes, the big boss of Mercedes-Benz. So this is it, the showdown.
This is it, one of the most epic Formula One seasons that I can remember. And it's down to this final race. I mean, it couldn't be better,
I know you know your Formula One incredibly well. You've been around here a long time, but are you confident on those medium tyres that Lewis can take this?
Well, the strategy that we chose from the beginning was to try to do the first stint on the medium, so we're happy about that. But Max did put in a blistering lap yesterday, so one has to respect what he's doing, and we'll see what happens. I mean, anything is possible in this race.
All right, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Right, it's pretty dense for people up there. I wanted to have a look at the side of the car and just show you all of the nonsense that's going to come off it, basically. All of the barge boards and they're beautifully designed, beautifully made, incredibly important on the car. But we saw in Saudi Arabia last weekend these bits, what they call the barge boards, and all the sawtooth bits there. You know, they get on the track. We've seen it in Baku as well. The drivers lose performance. They get on the track. We have to throw a virtual safety car to clear up after it. So for 2022, all of that goes, and the cars will look somewhat cleaner and clearer, which is a good thing. All right, let's head round here. Can you get through here, Lee? Hello, somebody's got hold of my pack. Right, here we go. Yeah, right. Christian, here we go then. So you've got the high ground, you've got track position.
Yeah.
Nervous?
I think we're just really pumped up for this race. I mean, it's been a hell of a year. I think the team's done an outstanding job. Max has been mighty all year, and we're just going to do exactly what we've done every other race and try and enjoy it.
And can you bring Checo, can you bring Sergio into play somehow?
Yeah, look, he's going to be going for it. He did a wonderful job for us as a team player yesterday. He's driven brilliantly this year as well, and so, you know, we're not giving up anything in this championship. Both championships are still open.
thanks for everything you've given us this year. You've given us a hell of a year at Red Bull.
Thank you very much. One more to go.
Cheers, good luck. Okay, let's wander around. We're kind of Stefano Domenicali, the boss of Formula One as well. Stefano, wow, we got a grid full of people here. What are you expecting to happen this afternoon? Who's your money on?
That's a good question, Martin. I think the money is on Formula One. Yeah. The money has to be on Formula One because we need to be proud of what we have done together. Thank you so much. It has been an incredible season so far. We just need to have the last bit to be perfect. So I really hope they're going to be a great race to share with the fans all around the world. That has been so thankful to them because it's been terrific.
Well, there's going to be a story somewhere this afternoon. I don't know how dramatic it's going to be.
We need to be ready with plan A, plan B, plan C, but let's have fun.
All right, Stefano, see you later. Stormzy's on the grid. Stormzy, really, really good to see you on the grid.
Really nice to meet you, man. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, good. You're used to handing a microphone, so you instinctively grabbed it. Now, you know, one of your albums, Heavy is the Head, you've got a couple of tracks on there, Own It and Crown. Yeah. Who's going to own the crown in 2 hours' time?
Oh, that was a good one. Hopefully Hamilton. That's what I'm rooting for. That's what I'm rooting for. So yeah, man. But this is exciting. Like, this is amazing. I feel very, very blessed to be here. So yeah, man.
How does this feel compared to being on stage for
I think the fact that they allow so much people, like, it's the equivalent of all these, like, imagine if I'm in the studio making music and there's 100,000 people, like, it's a bit mad, like, it's very, I feel very intrusive, like, do you know what I mean? Because people, they're still working on the car, you can still see the drivers, but yes, it's a circus, but it's amazing, do you know what I mean? Yeah.
And the drivers got to keep their head, and then when we all get out of the way, it's like the lights are coming on, and suddenly you can see your rivals, see the racetrack.
Yeah, no, it's amazing, man. This is why the sport's so exciting. So yeah, man.
Did you have a chat with Lewis at all?
No. I haven't spoken to him. I wouldn't even want to speak to him, man. That kind of I'm sure he needs to be in his zone. He needs to be focused. So yeah, man. Hopefully he does it, man.
And he loved this game. I don't care.
Legend.
If you don't mind, I need that back.
Oh yes, sorry, my guy. Here you go. Thank you very much.
Cheers. Good to say thank you very much. Right, let's wonder, see if we can find some more Formula One. Do you know what? I can't even see a Formula One car, let alone a Formula One driver, except George is nice and tall. He's got his cool suit on. And we'll see if we can have a quick chat with him. He's just talking to BBC 5 Live, actually. So obviously we don't butt in. We sometimes get competitive on who's talking to who next, but we don't. George. So yeah, good. Sorry, I need to do that.
This is our first one together. I feel it's been a while. Yeah, it's our first one ever.
That's what Lance said to me, and I don't remember that. But
unbelievable.
Anyway, your last race for Williams. You've done well there for 3 years, and you're going to get the big prize next year at Mercedes-Benz. But 58 laps to go first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, got a job to complete, which is finish P8 in the team championship for us, but obviously the big one for the boys at the top end. So, yeah, good luck to them. I think neither of them deserve to lose, but unfortunately that's not how the game works, so let's see.
Any pre-race nerves or anything like that? Or?
Oh, not for me. No, I'm pretty relaxed and go out there, have fun, stay out of trouble and stay out of these guys' way, because obviously that's the most important thing. So
yeah,
go and enjoy it.
And next year you'll need them to stay out of your way.
I won't be staying out of the way then.
See you later. Right, let's see. I'm kind of pinned in here. Daniel, quick word.
What would you like, mate?
Right, how are you, son? There's a lot of people on this grid and in the crowd. They love you, and we love you. And how much do you love your car and this track today?
Hopefully a little more than yesterday, but it's good. There's definitely I love having the finale here. It's a good place to finish off the season, and yeah, mate, I'm stoked. Obviously, there's a big race going on, but it's cool to be part of it, and I'll try and work my way towards the front.
And does it matter if there's a World Championship going on? Does it matter to you at all?
It doesn't affect my race itself. I think it matters to everyone watching, absolutely. But let's say my race from a strategic point of view, not at all, no.
Go well.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers. Young Mick just walking past. We had a chat with him last weekend, so I wanted to try and find Kimi in his last race. but he's already gone through, unfortunately. And just to say thank you to Kimi for everything he's done for Formula One and for us over the years. What an amazing character he's been. But anyway, no chance. So I'm going to throw back to Simon.
And there is Kimi Räikkönen with his wife Mintu, their 2 kids. It was wonderful watching them actually leave the paddock yesterday. He had his daughter on his shoulders. He's not one for sentimentality, is he? But there might be a tear in his eye when he leaves the paddock for a final time this evening.
Yeah, he will. And it's so special that he's got his family here. I love that. You know, he's got his 2 kids with him. And it's been a really, really long career. Lots of ups and downs, lots of emotion. And he might not show his emotion so much. Just when he's a bit angry, but he's definitely got emotion. He's got 2 kids, so yeah, it's you know, Formula One's going to miss him, but all good things come to an end.
Nico, you talked about how it was possible to block out all the extraneous noise when you're in the garage. What about when you're out here on the grid with 20 minutes to go and you've got the formalities to go through?
This is one of the toughest moments now, because it's mayhem around, huh? People wanting to speak to you, take pictures with you. You have to try to find a way, and that's where experience comes into play. For Lewis, you know, he's got the music in the ears. He's just looking up at the sky right now and just really trying to avoid all the chaos.
Yeah, it's absolute madness. It's funny when you're seeing it from this point of view. When you look in, that's just a mess in there, isn't it? It is a proper circus. But no, Lewis and Max are far away from this right now, staying calm, listening to music, as you said, maybe getting a little rub, getting ready and getting their mind in the right zone.
Look, this is the access that you don't get in other sports, to be this close to the cars, to the competitors, so close to kickoff is what everybody wants. Just finally on, we're going to speak to him, we hope, in a few moments' time, but Lando Norris from 3rd today, a penny for his thoughts. Stay out the way.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, Lewis is so thankful that Lando is there, not Sergio. You know, he's created a bit more gap to Sergio Perez. So Lewis is really happy about that. I was a bit surprised Lando said, oh, I'm scared to get involved in that fight. That was a bit weird to hear that from him. I mean, I can understand, but don't say it maybe. But anyways, that's for sure reassuring for Lewis as well.
Yeah, but also, if he gets a really good start and alongside Lewis, he's not going to back out of it, because that's when stuff goes wrong normally and incidents happen. So he's got to drive his own race.
Yeah, is that right? You just, drive his own race, that's the message.
Well, of course you have to try, yeah. But let's see how he acts on this. He might even kind of back out a little bit, and just because all he wants to do today is finish 3rd and really carry that 3rd place home. So let's watch what he does.
No, it's fantastic, we have to say. The atmosphere's been, when you look up in these stands, it's probably 50-50, isn't it? We know that the Max fan club travel in numbers, but there's plenty of Union Jacks, a lot of expats out here in Abu Dhabi. You always got a lot of support, for example.
Yeah, there's so much support for Max and Lewis, but I think today there's so much support for F1. This is such an amazing showdown. Even people that don't watch Formula One normally, I think will be turning on today, because this is such a fierce rivalry.
Yeah, but I do feel that it's like 50% on the world on one side, 50 on the other. You know, it's pretty intense.
Compete on the tracks, in the pits, as a sport. But we all race for something bigger.
It's time we race for equality. It's time we race for sustainability.
It's time we race to be global citizens.
It's time we race for equal access, opportunities, and representation.
Because sport can change the world, but it's up to us to make sure that change is for the better.
United, we are stronger.
Change starts with you.
It needs to come from your heart.
Keep working.
Keep learning. Keep on understanding.
We have a platform to shift change, starting little by little. Boy or girl, man or woman. United for the same causes.
We have the opportunity to spread the right message.
If we all pull together,
every single person has responsibility.
The best example is our own example.
We need to be responsible on what kind of mark we leave.
We don't have all the answers yet, but we can help find them.
Change starts here.
We race.
We race.
We race.
We race. We race.
We race as one.
Formula One's We Race as one message. Now it's time for the gesture. Well, the drivers have been united in their solidarity this year with those 4 pillars of We Race as one. Drivers making their way, though, to the very front of the grid. It's time for the national anthem. The two rivals with the trophy between them, so close they could touch it, but not yet. There's a race still to get through. We hope that this will be decided out on track. That is the main thing. That's what they've all talked about. But there is, of course, the possibility of a coming together when you have two rivals separated by so little on the front row of the grid. We're standing by hoping to have a quick word with Lando Norris.
Simon, Valtteri just came to Lewis and said, hey, Lewis, you can do this. That was a really big sign just now. Valtteri is going to be supporting him.
Okay, let's speak to Lando Norris. He said it myself, that you've got the best seat in the house, albeit you've got to probably stay out of trouble a little. What have you been thinking?
Go for it. I have nothing to lose. It's for theirs to lose. Of course, I'm not going to be an idiot. I hope I'm not anyway. But I think, I've got to be sensible, of course. I'm not racing for the win today necessarily. They're going to clear ahead quite quickly, but I still got my own race to look after, so I'll go for it from my side.
Yesterday you said you're a bit scared though, like to intervene. Like how are you feeling on that?
The same. It's one of the biggest battles for the championship for many years. So it's just a weird position to be in. I've not been in this position before where you're racing them, but they're also fighting for a world championship, the biggest championship in the world. So it is a weird position to be in. But I've got to be sensible, I normally am, and stay calm.
Lando, your parents here, both your mum and dad.
Yes.
You must want to reward them with a podium, though, this weekend.
I know. I'll try. If I can't reward them with a podium today, they should be happy with a P3 from yesterday. So, no, it's nice to have them here, and of course, I'll do my best for them.
Who's going to win the championship?
You really made me do this, huh?
You better get in your car.
You better go.
Zach's calling me.
There you go.
Max.
We got it. Okay, we'll keep that. Toto.
What did he say?
Well, I can't tell you that. I can't tell you that. Well, he said Max. But who today, what have you been going through? What have you said to the team? What have you said to Lewis, and how relaxed are you?
Well, we are going to go massive attack. Whatever the strategy is, whether it's a one-stop, two-stop, we are going to be on his tail if we're second. Well, there's not, this is just one way to go, and that's forward.
What about turn one? Lewis going to go on the attack there as well on the inside?
Yeah, well, that's a tricky bit, but Lewis is the best to know how to position the car, that it doesn't end up with mayhem in turn one.
Toto, you had a little conversation with Michael Massey. Anything interesting there?
Yeah, just shortly. Yeah, he knows there's so much at stake. It's not a street circuit, so I hope there will be less mayhem.
Finally, you must be very proud. This is part of Formula One history, Toto.
Yeah, hopefully we'll play an important role in that Formula One history, but honestly, whoever wins merits to win, and if it's not us, it will not be the end of the day, but it will be pretty upsetting.
Thanks a lot. Let the best man win. Let's go to Karun at the Skypad, who's going to talk to us about starts. What might happen?
Simon, there's been so much talk about this offset of tyres. Max Verstappen on a softer compound to Lewis Hamilton. So I thought, let's go back to last week, the restart, where that was the case. Max on the medium, Lewis on the hard tyre. And that softer grip just gave Max the confidence. It's not just about the launch, it's about the confidence you get on the brakes as well. Now, the circuit's been reconfigured, and we've seen some great racing on the exit from turn 5 on the run down to turn 6 in Formula 2. Look at this helicopter shot, 4 wide into turn 6. Hopefully, this is a bit of a precursor for what we're going to see. At turn 9, the new banked corner as well. We saw some fantastic wheel-to-wheel action between Liam Lawson, Jack Doohan, and Roy Nissany. I'll forward it along because the move starts at the turn 6-7 complex. But when you head down towards turn 9, we're seeing multiple lines because of the banking. We saw it at Zandvoort, we saw it in Saudi Arabia. People able to go inside, outside, do a switchback. And again, hopefully, this will set up what we're going to see later today. Ted, the track temperature down to 30 degrees. It's getting exciting here.
Never mind the track temperature, Karun, never mind the track temperature. To quote the late, great Murray Walker, down here on the grid, you can cut the tension with a cricket stump. Look into his eyes. Look into his eyes. That's the first time this year I've seen that man look worried. How could he not be worried? How could Max Verstappen not be worried? He's led the championship at one point, before the race at Silverstone, by 33 points. 33, 33, 33, there's a number. 33 points, and yet he comes here and he's equal on points with Hamilton. Let's have a look at Hamilton. How does he look after the sprint race? It was 33 points. Hamilton is in the car already. He's in the car. He's settled. He's got the Rainbow Pride helmet on there. He's all ready to go. Simon, touch tension.
Okay, guys, time to put your necks on the line. Who are you going with and why? Nico, start us off.
Well, I don't know why, but I stick with Lewis. I think that medium tire is going to somehow give him a chance through the first pit stop or something to take the lead and carry it home. But of course, it's completely impossible to predict.
Max for turn one.
Wow.
That's as far as I'm going.
That's as far as we're going. This is it. The climax of a wonderful, wonderful season. There they are. The two main protagonists are at the wheel and in their cars. We've got 10 minutes to go until lights out here in Abu Dhabi. And this, the decider in the desert.
For me, one of the best things about life is that we keep moving forward. We discover exciting new technologies, redefine who we are and how we want to lead our lives. Basically, we choose what we want our future to look like. So what's yours going to be?
Jerry's here! Jerry! Mate, how are you?
It's so good, Jerry!
Good to see all of you, yeah.
Why is Jerry so popular? It's been like this ever since we started using Workday. What do you mean? It makes it easier to develop great relationships with our suppliers. Now, everyone, everywhere loves Jerry. They sure do. They do. They really do.
Workday. Finance, HR, planning, and spend management for a changing world.
It's a season that will live long in the memory. Whatever the outcome, a privilege for us all to witness two athletes in their racing prime, pushing each other ever higher and cementing their place in Formula One folklore. Brace yourselves for what we hope will be a fitting climax to an epic year.
The book of Formula One. It has no genre. It is a thriller, a horror,
Oh, this is quite appalling.
an adventure. At the turn of every page, there are surprises,
Hey, look at that!
shocking twist in the tale.
Is that clock going slowly? It is! Oh my goodness me!
And the latest chapter has eclipsed all imagination. Two protagonists, the warrior, the master. One vying to take the crown,
I hope to become a world champion.
the other on the cusp of legend.
I've been training my whole life for this moment.
In support, two confidants, defending them all, hailing,
That was epic.
cajoling.
Keep turning that screw.
We never give up. This is still on. A battle, years in the making.
You were born in 97? Jeez.
In this fight, no quarter has been given.
Verstappen is out of the race!
No challenge unmatched.
This time they are both out!
Pressure has grown.
Christian is a bit of a windbag who wants to be on camera.
Tension has risen.
If I was Toto, I'd keep my mouth shut.
The bitterness of defeat. The sweet taste of victory.
Yes! Come on, guys!
The car's on fire today. Like chapters of old, the plot twist will continue.
It's force wide by Verstappen!
Right down to the last paragraph.
Oh, they touched!
The last sentence.
That's more like it. Come on.
The last word.
Amazing job, guys.
Who knows how this story will end?
11th goes to Fernando Alonso, missed out on Q3 by 12 thousandths of a second. He keeps Pierre Gasly company. Lance Stroll in his 100th start for Aston Martin is 13th on the grid, ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi, who waves goodbye to Formula One. Sebastian Vettel starts 15th ahead of Nicholas Latifi, and 16th. Latifi out-qualifying his Williams teammate George Russell on his final appearance for Williams before he goes to Mercedes. Kimi Raikkonen in his final start in Formula One is 18th. Mick Schumacher all on his own in 19th. Nikita Mazepin not racing after testing positive for COVID. We send our best wishes to him. He watches on. The world watches on, Martin Brundle. I don't know how nervous you are, but I'm as excited as I am tense.
I'm very excited. Nervous I'm not. Something is going to happen in the next 58 laps. We're just not quite sure what. Will it be Lewis Hamilton's record-breaking 8, or Sergio Perez sitting there? He's watching out forward to his teammate Max Verstappen, desperately looking for his first world title. And for me, whoever wins this World Championship, this is an amazing World Championship, will fully deserve it, and I can't wait. And that's why we love live sport, Crofty.
It certainly is. 369.5 points. You go back 151 points to the next contender, and that's Valtteri Bottas. These two have taken their talent to a new level. And here are the starting tyres. Let's go from the back upwards. Soft tyres for Mick Schumacher, medium for Raikkonen, all the way to Stroll. Gasly and Alonso starting on the hards. It's soft then for Ricciardo and Ocon, medium Tsunoda, Bottas on the medium, Leclerc on the soft, Sainz, Perez, Norris on the soft, but crucially, Hamilton on the medium, Verstappen on the soft as we get underway for the formation lap. Whatever happens, different strategies for the two that can win the title.
Yes, I think Red Bull would give anything to be able to change those tyres right now, because, of course, they weren't in play of setting pole position. They were to get you through to the top 10 shootout. Then you're locked into them for the race. We saw Max snatch that front left tyre, going for a second lap, and basically he couldn't use that set anymore. Forced to qualify into the top 10 shootout on the soft compound tyres, and they are exactly the 4 tyres on his car now. It should get him into the first corner first, but then, and he may even let him pull clear a little bit in the beginning, but Lewis's tyres are much more for the long run. But, you know, a safety car or anything like that could turn the entire thing on its head, and that, of course, would play into to Red Bull's hands at that point. So we saw some games being played, didn't we, by Lewis Hamilton and gang. They didn't want to get too early to the grid. They hung Max out front a little bit, didn't they, on one of the 3 restarts. But I think with Max's soft tyres, Lewis will be keen to get as much temperature into his more durable but harder compound tyres as he can. So I don't think we'll see too much of that going on. And Max has stretched the pack a little bit as well, but we saw them pull the cars back so they can spin their wheels away a little bit. They're not allowed to go above 50 miles an hour until they pass pole position, actually. You're not allowed to go faster than the pit lane limiter, but you can spin the wheels a little bit and try and lay a bit of extra rubber down on your grid slot, get a feel for the clutch point, and we know that Max will then park right at the front of his pit box.
So there is the Drivers' Championship to be settled today. The Constructors' Championship also to be settled today. Mercedes, for a record-breaking 8th consecutive year as Constructors' Champions, needs 17 points no matter what Red Bull score. Max Verstappen needs to beat Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton needs to beat Max Verstappen. Unless Lewis Hamilton finishes 9th and Max 10th with the fastest lap, the championship would still go to that man's son. Racing dad, Jos Verstappen. 15 drivers from Holland have entered the Formula One World Championship. We've never had a Dutch world champion. For the last 13 years, the champion has either been British or it has been German. Kimi Raikkonen, the last non-Brit or German to win the championship, and all eyes now focused on the grid. The talking eventually has to stop. The wheels start to rotate, and then it is game on.
Yeah, they do some burnouts to the grid to get some rare tyre temperature. And obviously they've been working the brakes and moving the car around, anything to generate their heating engineers, basically. There's certain bits need to stay cool and other bits need to be warm enough and in the right temperature range. 19 cars on the grid then. Nikita Mazepin tested positive for COVID-19. So that is why at the back there, Kimi Raikkonen in his final and 349th Grand Prix.
We've been waiting for this all season long. The finale, the title decider, under the lights here in Abu Dhabi. It's lights out, away we go, and Hamilton gets a decent start, and he's already ahead of Max Verstappen. There's a bit of jockeying going on between Tsunoda and Ricciardo. Hamilton leads into the first corner. Norris goes wide. Sergio Perez slips through into third place. There comes Carlos Sainz, but it's Hamilton out in front. The medium tyres working well for him as his teammate Valtteri Bottas challenges the Ferrari. Into the hairpin we go now. Hamilton leads Bottas, leads Perez, then leads Norris, then the two Ferraris of Sainz and Leclerc. It is a dream start for Lewis Hamilton.
Yes, the only good news there for Red Bull is at least Perez is up there, but for the second consecutive weekend, the Red Bull did not get off the line very well.
This three abreast going into the turn 9 hairpin. Oh, and there, Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton almost coming together. Hamilton has to go off the track. The Dutch fans roaring in the background. Lewis Hamilton in the lead, but will he have to give out the place?
Yes, of course he will, but the problem he's got is Perez is right on Verstappen's tail.
Yes, he gave that back.
Verstappen wants that place back, and he wants that place back right now.
What Max should do is back up a little bit and make sure Perez is right on his gearbox for when Lewis inevitably has to give that place back. Verstappen had to do that lunge.
So behind them, the lunge was on with Norris and Sainz and Leclerc. Sainz in 4th, Norris 5th, Leclerc in 6th. Out in front, Hamilton still has the lead from Max Verstappen, from Sergio Perez. And at the end of lap 1, Hamilton's advantage over Verstappen is 1.1 seconds.
Yeah, copy. We're happy with the gap that you've reinstated.
Oh, well, so Mercedes then tactic here is, okay, you haven't gained a lasting advantage. So the stewards will be looking at that. You've re-established the gap. Not quite sure I can see that. You re-established the gap that you had before you went off. Well, they were side by side when they went off.
We did wonder whether the stewards would need to get involved this weekend by courtesy of that moment down at turn 7. Surely they need to get involved to make a decision one way or another. But it's Hamilton out in front. Will he have to give the place back, or will he keep the lead?
I think that's clear-cut for me anyway, but we're talking team play here with Red Bull 2nd and 3rd. Valtteri Bottas has now dropped down to 8th place.
He was having an early battle, wasn't he, with Yuki Tsunoda. Tsunoda's got ahead of him. Bottas not in play to help his teammate, who's going to have to try and win this the hard way. Now, this the run down. Verstappen a long way back, lunges into the apex. They do touch, and Hamilton has to take to the escape road. Did Verstappen lunge correctly and fairly? Will the stewards rule in Verstappen's favour there, or was that an opportunist move that was never, ever going to be on? Will they decide that way?
It was late, but the door was open and Max stayed on the racetrack.
No investigation necessary, say the stewards. Derek Warwick, former Grand Prix racer, Gary Connolly, very experienced steward, Felix Holter completing that particular trio. They've got bags of experience in the stewards' room, and they've decided no investigation necessary. Well, it's like Brazil. Turn 4, there was no investigation necessary that day either.
That's the card they played, and so we're back as we were then, 1.4 seconds behind Max Verstappen. Red Bull, I think, will be on the blower to race control to question that one. But that's, with all of the information they've got available to them, what they see, the different camera angles, there we go.
Go ahead, Jonathan.
So, I've just seen it again. Max is ahead at the apex.
Jonathan.
Stays on the track.
Jonathan, he's forced him out there. That's why we asked him to give back
Lewis
all of the advantage.
Lewis has left the track. And, oh, you told him to give back all the advantage?
All the advantage was already given back prior to the first lap ending.
I'm not sure we agree, but understood.
No problems.
So in the eyes of the stewards then, Lewis Hamilton slowed down enough to give back some of the extra meters that he gained when he went off the track, and that was fair. There's race director Michael Massey. That was fair in their opinion. 1.5 seconds now, the gap.
Well, I call these things as I see them. It doesn't seem to matter whatever you say. One of the teams is unhappy with you, but I don't see that the gap was the same.
Okay, mate, so just get your head down. No investigation on the shortcuts or the advantage that he's gained in terms of gaps, so let's just get on with this and win it on track, mate.
That is incredible. What are they doing there?
Because they were side by side when the incident happened, and even into the braking zone, so I don't think the gap was ever given back, but that's what the stewards have decided. They're the referees, and I think that's wise advice there to young Max Verstappen in terms of, right, don't get angry, get even. Get on, you know, just focus on the race ahead now.
Well, we wondered, didn't we? Was it going to be turn one where Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton potentially came together? We lasted 6 corners until they came together. Our first controversial moment of this race, and possibly not the last either, as Hamilton takes to the runoff area, stays ahead of Verstappen. The stewards say no investigation, no penalty to be applied. Now we can get back on with the racing.
Yeah, critically, the stewards feel that because Max slid sideways, he pushed Lewis out of play. But look at that, the Red Bull of Verstappen just barely moved initially, did it? It bogged down on him. And there is then Perez taking 3rd place as Lando Norris goes wide, comes back in, doesn't gain any advantage. And you can see Bottas falling behind the Ferrari as well.
Got squeezed a bit, didn't he?
Really, really low revs there for Lewis in the Mercedes, and just took off 1/10 of a second better on the reaction time, just about finds enough grip. And look at that lovely space in front of him. So yeah, I'm going to call it the same way. I think Max has got in there, he's got into the apex, he stayed within the white lines of the racetrack, and look at the gap Lewis has pulled out from there. So I'll stand by that, but that's not what the stewards think.
This is the view from Lewis Hamilton's cockpit as he sees Max Verstappen coming at him at a rate of knots. But it is very much like Brazil. There was no penalty given in Brazil for that turn 4 incident. Max Verstappen lunged late on that day, and the stewards on that day decided that it was a fair move. What they've decided here, and once again, it was a fair move from Verstappen. Hamilton gave enough time back, so it was honours even at the end of this skirmish.
But the door was open, and he drove through it. And he stayed on the racetrack. It wasn't, he was leery in Saudi Arabia last weekend when he arrived sideways and out of control. And Lewis made an attempt, and that's why Max had to give the place back. And Lewis came back on the track within the corner and made a reasonable effort, having been pushed out of the way, to get on the track.
Ted Kravitz, very good evening to you.
Hello, Crofty. I didn't think it was going to get this controversial this early. Hello, Martin. Hello, everyone. I didn't know, but looking down from where I am in the pit lane across to the Red Bull pit wall, Christian Horner might as well have steam coming out of his ears. I understand he's been on the radio speaking directly to the race director, Michael Massey, to put his point of view. Maybe we'll hear from him in a second what he had to say, but this is a result of Brazil with the FIA not clamping down on these things. When you start to leave interpretation into it rather than a hard and fast rule, you get situations, confusing situations that would have been clear-cut in the past decisions.
On board with Charles Leclerc is currently running 6th, but while we watch from the cockpit of the Ferrari, let's head down to the Red Bull pit wall. Christian Horner is with us. Christian, please, your reaction to the no action by the stewards.
We're a little bit shocked at that because apparently Lewis gave his advantage back, which we've failed to see yet. So, you know, as you can imagine, we're not best pleased.
Is this what goes around comes around, Christian, with turn 4 Brazil and into some first corners in earlier races?
No, it's a total lack of consistency. So, you know, we're disappointed with it, but focus on the race now, and you know, we've got to do it the hard way.
Christian, there will be a lot of people watching Formula 1 for the first time ever. When they're presented with a no action for one incident, no action for another, they'll find it hard to believe that's a total lack of consistency.
Well, you know, the race director made it very clear before the race that you had to stay within the white lines. Max did that. You know, Lewis gained an advantage by going off track. He didn't concede it. He didn't give anything back, so that was our position. But anyway, we're focused on the race, and still a long way to go.
Christian, thanks ever so much for joining us. We appreciate your instant reaction there. That's while we were talking to Christian, we saw Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll having a race all by themselves. 14th for Vettel, 15th for Stroll.
Go ahead.
Michael, we still don't understand it. That was a hard, aggressive pass by Max, but Max stayed fully on the track and he was ahead at the apex. He did everything right, stayed on the track. At some point, the second car has to back out.
Jonathan, the stewards have reviewed it and determined that all of the lasting advantage was gained, and that Max forced that position there. So they've said that they have reviewed it but are not investigating it.
Meanwhile, Lewis Hamilton now 2 seconds out in front from Verstappen, Perez, Sainz, Norris, Leclerc, Tsunoda, Bottas, Ocon and Ricciardo. We've got 3 world champions with us on Sky Sports F1 this weekend. Damon Hill, Jenson Button and Nico Rosberg. Nico, what's the champions' view?
Oh my goodness, so difficult. I think it's okay what they've done. Max was a little bit too lungy and too aggressive, forcing Lewis out too strongly. Even though he had the right to the corner there because he was massively ahead, you know, but still. And then I would also say, though, that Lewis didn't give back everything that he gained. So there's like, oh, it's tough, but I think it's okay like this.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Nico said. I think when you look at it back, you know, you have to say that Lewis had to basically move out of the way because otherwise he's going to collide with Max, who made a very uncompromising, very late lunge, which left no room for Lewis to make any accommodation. He had to leave the track. But I have to say, I am surprised they didn't say, give the place back, because, you know...
Yeah, totally. I actually agree with you, Damon. It was a very late lunge, but it was always going to happen. Lewis knew he was coming. And he pushed Lewis off the track, I guess, but he stayed on the track. And I'm struggling to understand the regulations right now because obviously in Brazil there was no penalty, but they both drove off the circuit, whereas Max stayed on the track this time.
Gentlemen, thanks ever so much. I think Jos Verstappen's also struggling to come to terms with this. He just walked out the back of the Red Bull garage as Hamilton continues then on lap 8 in the lead of this race. We've had a big controversial moment and we'll be talking about this, I'm sure, for a long time to come.
Yeah, let's park that for now. What's interesting here is Lewis Hamilton actually has a little bit more pace as well, despite Verstappen being on the softer tyres. We thought they might be a little bit faster for half a dozen, 10 laps or so, but at the moment that doesn't seem to be the case, unless Max is just trying to eke them out, because Sergio Perez is hanging on to them as well. 5 seconds covers the top 3, and now the strategists for both teams will be thinking long and hard, and how quickly. It's about 23 seconds to make a pit stop, but right now anybody who stopped, for example, that put them down in 11th place, so they've got to get a lot further into this race yet before they can think about pitting.
Well, this is Verstappen's double problem here, is that if he is having to pit earlier than Hamilton because his tyres won't go as long into the race, he's going to put himself into traffic if he pits in the next 4 or 5 laps. They don't want to be doing that because it'll hold up his pace.
Rear started struggling a little bit.
That's not what they want to hear on the pit wall at Red Bull. Rear's starting to struggle. He'll lose grip. Coming out of those slower corners might lessen his pace down the straights as well.
Yeah, in other words, the surface is overheating, goes a bit like a jelly, and you start to slide around. You turn in, the back end comes around on you a bit. You touch the throttle, you can't quite get full traction until a good way out of the corner, until the downforce builds up. But they have no option but to stick with it for now. They've got to clear the pack before they can consider a pit stop. Now, otherwise they'll just be in so much traffic. But they're lapping around 1.5 seconds a lap faster than the tail end of the top 10. And that's the window they'll be looking for. 23, 24 seconds to get Verstappen in and try and come up with a new solution. Yeah,
the gap that is appearing that I'm sure they'd like to fit into is just behind Sergio Perez and just in front of Carlos Sainz, who's become something of the head of a train of cars. These are the rear tyres for Max Verstappen. Pirelli say they've got a performance life of about 15 laps from the start of this race on heavy fuel and full tanks of fuel. I've seen angrier looking tyres, but I've seen shinier looking tyres too.
Yeah, it's the surface temperature, isn't it? So, you know, we have to accept that Max made that small error in qualifying. He made a big error last weekend that cost him pole there. But such a crazy race in Saudi Arabia, I'm not sure in the end it made any difference who was on pole at the first of the 3 starts. But, and that's what's forced him in to putting these tyres on it and put the Red Bull on the back foot. Now, they've got Perez there. It's like a game of chess, isn't it? They've got Perez there who could come into play and affect when Mercedes can pit Hamilton. But of course, if Hamilton comes out with fresher tyres, Perez will be fairly easy target.
Assuming you can get them warmed up straight away, but what is clear, there is the length of that back straight, which is well over 1 kilometre long, in between Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, second and fourth in this race. Running behind Sainz is former McLaren teammate Lando Norris. Charles Leclerc running in 6th at the moment. Yuki Tsunoda having a decent race, running in 7th. Valtteri Bottas, and not for the first time this season, struggling to get past the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, who's been rather held up back there. The wind has picked up just a little bit here as well, and a stiff breeze that you can see on the flag from the top of the viewing tower. Esteban Ocon runs in 9th, Daniel Ricciardo 10th, and Hamilton starting to stretch the pace out in front.
And of course there's a World Championship point for anybody who finishes in the top 10 with the fastest lap. That fastest lap will get much faster yet because they're burning down their 100+ kilos of fuel, have a much lighter car when they put tyres on.
This is the start for Max Verstappen. 1/10 of a second better reaction time for Lewis Hamilton. There he goes, off into the distance. Was it just the reaction time that cost Verstappen?
It just didn't get away, did it?
And this, the moment then, as well, it didn't quite touch. Hamilton was trying to turn in, realised that if he turned in even more to the left, contact would be made. Verstappen has stayed within the white lines, but...
I'm not changing my mind on that. I'll stick with... Look, the door's open, he's gone through it. He's kept completely within the white lines, and a car that was side by side with him is heading off down the road.
The trouble is, the rules say it's leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage is what gets you into trouble with the stewards.
These are great laps, Lewis. Just keep it up. Just keep the pressure on.
Now, Hamilton had the advantage because he was out in front. Did he give back all the advantage he gained by going off the track? That's the debate here. And if Red Bull do want to appeal this race and ask for the right for review, that's the sort of information they're going to have to find to force an appeal.
Yeah, I don't think there's any point in them even thinking about that. But this pace from Lewis is now a second a lap faster than Verstappen. He's waltzing off into the distance anyway, such that will be probably irrelevant if it stays like this in terms of what happened on the first lap. And these are tremendously fast laps from Lewis. Look at that, 4.6 seconds. So what that means, Crofty, is that they've got, with that kind of gap, whatever Red Bull do with Verstappen, Mercedes can wait another lap.
Yeah. Wait
another lap. They've got there'll be no undercut by somebody going out on fresher tyres and getting ahead of you, because they'll have enough slack in the system, enough fat in the system, if you like. If he can get himself towards 10 seconds ahead, they can then just casually react to whatever Red Bull do.
The orange in the grandstand is quite silent at the moment. The Red Bull garage looking a little bit despondent.
Oh, red tyres are really struggling.
And Verstappen,
okay, understood, mate,
having to work very hard indeed to try and keep pace with Lewis Hamilton. Scores a level going into this race. As it stands at the moment, Lewis Hamilton would be an 8th world champion in Formula One, an 8-time world champion. Verstappen's bid for a first world title crown is being thwarted, but there is a long, long way to go. We're only just starting lap 13. Long way to go under the lights here in Abu Dhabi tonight, as Verstappen makes his way around turn 1.
Well, we thought these would go probably 20 laps, didn't we, before they were crying too much. They've obviously done 3 in qualifying anyway. So sort of 15, 16 laps before. I'm surprised that Max is struggling so much, so quickly with them. And, well, what a pain it's proven to be for them, having to give away. That is so frustrating for Red Bull. They didn't even need to be doing that lap that he was on when he locked the front left tyre into turn 1.
Yep, it's forced a change in strategy and it forced them onto the back foot a little bit. Ted, down to you.
Max Verstappen not the only one who's struggling with his soft tyres. Lando Norris has been on the radio saying they're okay, they're all right, but he's struggling to keep pace with Carlos Sainz ahead of him. Now dropped to 3 seconds behind the Ferrari of Sainz has Lando. Fernando Alonso's been on the radio saying that something feels wrong with the front of his tyres. He's on front of his car. He's on the hard tyres. Maybe they're not up to temperature, but we'll have to follow that one to see what's going on with Fernando. He's P11 at the moment.
And I wonder if George Russell's struggling too, down in 18th at the moment.
Fernando, we keep losing gears. This might continue to happen.
Well, that's that's not what you want to hear when you're trying to keep the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc at bay as they make a move into the pit lane down at Red Bull. Is Max Verstappen coming in? Yes, he is. Lap 14 of 58, and Max Verstappen about to make what should be his one and only pit stop of this race. The hard tyre goes on, and he'll come out, hopefully for Red Bull, if they've got their strategy right, ahead of Carlos Sainz. Perez slips through into second place, but the Ferrari making its way down into turn one. He's not going to come out ahead of Carlos Sainz. Where is Max Verstappen going to come out onto this track? He goes underneath it now. He's trying to put the power on, and onto the track he goes now. He is ahead of one Ferrari, but only just as Charles Leclerc goes off. And maybe a bit distracted by Verstappen coming onto the track. Leclerc going very, very wide, losing a place to Tsunoda, locking up going into turn 5. He didn't get past the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, did Max Verstappen, but with Charles Leclerc going wide like that, he could stay ahead of that Ferrari and easily passes Lando Norris now to move himself back up into 4th. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda and Charles Leclerc are having their particular battle. Tsunoda staying ahead, but only just.
So the pit exit here, the weird pit exit underneath.
Okay, Lewis, so box.
That's what I was talking about. They can just react and copy whatever Red Bull do as Leclerc comes back underneath Yuki Tsunoda, but the pit exit feeds straight into the outside of turn 3, and that is the problem there.
So Sergio Perez will stay out and will go on to take the lead of this race. Neat stop by the Mercedes crew. 2.4 seconds stationary time for Lewis Hamilton. Has to trundle down the pit lane at 80 kilometers an hour. Now he can get the power on, but not too much power because that tunnel is very, very tight indeed. He disappears out of our view temporarily and will come onto a racetrack, and the wide open spaces of this racetrack is he'll be ahead of Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. Verstappen's made his pit stop. He's 4th. Hamilton's made his pit stop. He's 2nd. And if you're a Sky Q or a Sky Glass customer and you're just joining us this afternoon, well, if you press your red button, you can watch the highlights alongside the live action. And this is Charles Leclerc as Max Verstappen comes out of the pits. Yeah. Was he distracted? Was it something to do with the car?
Now he got a swapper on. Look at that. He turned in to 3 and had to counter steer into a massive slide. Remember, he's got some overheated soft compound tyres on there as well, and it was quite the save for Leclerc there. But yeah, maybe he was a bit urgent as well, trying to get past, hoping to get past the Red Bull exiting the pit lane. But I don't know, it kind of feels game back on now to me.
Well,
okay, Hamilton's pitted. Plan A. Correction. Plan B. Plan B.
Yes, plan A might have been to come into the pits. Plan B is to stay out there, and maybe Sergio Perez now can help Max Verstappen if Hamilton catches him by not going quite as fast as Hamilton and just try and slow up the momentum for Lewis Hamilton. And as it stands at the moment, that momentum is gaining and gaining and gaining with every lap, and there's not much that stopped him so far.
Yeah, you have to assume they'll leave Perez out in the hope of slowing Hamilton down in a few laps' time. Verstappen's catching his old teammate Carlos Sainz in a hurry now. Verstappen in the low 1:28, so he needs to pass the Ferrari very quickly as the other Ferrari of Charles Leclerc makes its first pit stop.
As does Esteban Ocon too. Neat stop once again then for the Ferrari crew, although 3.4 seconds, lost a little bit of time there. I'm sure that the likes of Norris and Sainz might be coming in a while as well. Ocon is out, Leclerc is out, Leclerc 15th and Ocon is 17th. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc's stop. They lost a bit of time on the rear. I think it was the left rear. The tyre was a bit slow going on. Expecting to see whether Lando Norris reacts to the Ferrari, the one that was behind him pitting. We'll see in a second. I've had the line from Mercedes, guys. Do you want to know their view on the lap 1 shenanigans?
Well, I think everybody wants to know that, Ted.
Yeah, because, you know, we're all kind of, well, in any other race, in any other series, Lewis would have had to give the place back. They don't see it that way, understandably. They say it was a lunge from Max. He pushed Lewis off the track. I point out, well, they didn't touch, and they said they didn't touch only because Lewis avoided the collision. He tried to turn in, couldn't take his line, and couldn't get round the corner, so had to go off and go across the runoff. That's the view from Mercedes. Take it as you will.
I used to call that motor racing.
So nothing wrong with it whatsoever then.
I've made my point. So, yeah, you can look at that either any which way that suits you, really. But Verstappen, oh, look at that. Max then in the penultimate corner in the dirty air of the Ferrari, pushing hard. He said to me, actually, on Saturday night that in race conditions that penultimate turn 15 is a bit of a handful. It certainly was then. It was a handful of opposite lock.
It certainly was, and it's cost him maybe the chance to get past Carlos Sainz here. But he's got DRS. He's got an extra 9 miles an hour, so pace advantage, but he's too far back.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's wrecked his chance of passing him down the first straight. He's got another chance now, but it looks a bit lumpy coming out of the 6-7 chicane there. And that's cost Verstappen a lap of passing the Ferrari.
Unless he can get past into turn 9, and he had to think about it, didn't he? He thought the door might be open, but once again, just a bit too far behind. And yes, it has now cost him an extra lap, stuck behind his former teammate at Toro Rosso, Carlos Sainz. Meanwhile, at Sky Race Control, working out plans A, B, and possibly down to Z to Karun Shahandog.
Yes, good evening, Crofty Martin. I think plan B could be Checo holding up Lewis Hamilton. You know, the gap initially was 11 seconds. It's now down to 6.5. Obviously, Lewis much quicker on new hard tyres. But I think that's why they've switched, just to try and, you know, put a bit of pressure on Mercedes. What else can they do?
Well, they could also try a very aggressive two-stop strategy with Max Verstappen. Martin Brundle, would that be worth a try? They've got nothing to lose, surely.
Well, that's the phrase, isn't it? Nothing to lose. But I think that's a little bit later on. We've still got 40 laps to go. But let's see if Perez can hold Lewis Hamilton up, and for how long. I don't think it'll be long, personally.
Well, Perez, Hamilton chasing Perez, striking distance, powered by AWS, our battle forecast in 2 laps. Striking distance in 20 metres, Max Verstappen on Carlos Sainz. And into the chicane goes Max Verstappen on the fresher tyres. It's taken him a lap longer than he would have wanted, but Verstappen back up into the top 3, and now round about 8 seconds or so behind Lewis Hamilton, around about 12 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton, as Sainz might try to force his way. No, he can't round the outside. He had DRS down that straight, but he's not going to get past Verstappen there. So Perez leads, and it stands at the moment 4.3 seconds from Lewis Hamilton, and then comes Max Verstappen after this move. Nicely executed, but to be fair, Sainz wasn't really fighting him into turn 6.
No, Carlos knows that's not his fight for this evening. He's up against Lando Norris in the McLaren and his teammate Charles Leclerc as well, and having a very strong end to the season, isn't he? This would be his 14th consecutive points finish, wouldn't it? Or maybe 15th even for Carlos Sainz.
Carlos Sainz has been putting together the longest active scoring streak on the grid, 14 races, as you said, Martin, despite failing to reach Q3 in 6 of those races. He's got 19 points finishes in total, tied with Lando Norris and Lewis Hamilton as the most points finishes in this season. Meanwhile, Norris's McLaren teammate Daniel Ricciardo pits. Norris running down in 13th, but as we heard a little while ago, losing some gears from time to time. He's still running out on the track, but his pace not exactly brilliant at the moment.
Yeah, he's got 8 of them, 8 gears, but obviously what they mean is obviously he's pulling for some shifts and they're not working sometimes. And then as Daniel Ricciardo exits that rather tortuous pit lane, although we've never had an incident in there, have we? We've been coming here since 2009. Everybody was fearful of that pit lane. I think it's such a peril, such a challenge through there.
Okay, we'll be looking to hold up Lewis. I think it's best to do that. Is it 2 seconds?
So the regulations say a Formula 1 car must not be any wider than 2 metres.
How wide do you think Sergio Perez can make that Red Bull at the moment then? Probably needs to quadruple the width, or mentally at least. How can he hold up Lewis Hamilton in this part of the track? Probably a little easier than down the back straights, and certainly towards the end of the lap he could just slow down the momentum somewhat, but this is really playing the team game for Sergio Perez, who gave his teammate a brilliant tow to try and help him to pole in yesterday's qualifying. Sainz is now pitting, as you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, but Lewis, with a good exit here, should be able to get past Perez.
Yeah, he'll have DRS. Perez will have saved his battery for attack down here, but he can weave around a bit. But in the end, the track is too wide. Lewis will be nervous of the back of the Red Bull, and Perez will have a lunge up the inside, inevitably. Lewis cuts back underneath him, and that's exactly what we expected to happen. He will now drive past him, give him a cheery little wave, and that was about all Perez could do, or was it? No. Perez with DRS is coming back into turn 9.
Can Perez make it into turn 9? He's saved up a bit of energy from that battery store, and with a bit of DRS possibly as well, has blasted past Lewis Hamilton, so he is going to hold him up just that little extra bit. This is a very, very good tussle here. Perez as absolutely on the limit and as fair as he can be.
And parked on the apex of the slow corners, so plenty of battery and DRS. And wow, he breezed back past, didn't he?
Didn't he just? Although the Red Bull, certainly with Max Verstappen, has had more pace than the Mercedes down the straight. You can see flecks of paint coming up from the curbs as they make their way around the final 2 turns. Hamilton's going to try and get Perez into turn 1 and have to go the long way around the outside to do it, and can't quite do it. Perez playing the ultimate team game here for Max Verstappen, and this is really frustrating Lewis Hamilton. It's going to be hurting his tyres a little bit as well. And whilst Verstappen has just put in a 1:28.3 for the final lap, Perez and Hamilton in the 1:34s and the 1:33s. The gap now coming down between Verstappen and Hamilton. You can see him right in the background. Hamilton needs to get past Perez here. He does get past Perez. He moves towards the inside. He's going to force Perez the long way round if Perez is going to try and retake that lead of the race. But on lap 21, Hamilton does get past Perez, but Perez has played the ultimate team game, and he's really brought his teammate back into play.
And he can give his teammate a bit of DRS for good measure, so great team play. That's the team play we talked about earlier on. Now he gets clean out of the way.
Max DRS, back off, Max DRS.
Hugh Bird, his race engineer, telling him to back off there and keep out of Max Verstappen's way. So that gap that was over 6 seconds, now 1.3 seconds, and all of a sudden, the Dutch grandstand's woken up, and I'm sure a lot of other people have too.
Yeah, I said this feels game on.
Oh, Checo is a legend.
Absolute animal.
This time last year, Checo Perez was retiring from the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Didn't quite know where he was going in Formula One. He got signed up by Red Bull, and he has really helped his teammate Max Verstappen. But Verstappen now has got to try and keep the pace with Hamilton as Perez does come into the pits. And as it stands on this lap, Hamilton seems to be pulling away a little bit from Max Verstappen. In the practice sessions, don't forget, Mercedes ran on the hard compound tyre with full fuel. Red Bull were trying the soft compound tyre, and they haven't used these hard tyres throughout the weekend so far. This is when Hamilton got past Perez, but it didn't end there, did it?
I half expected Perez to come slithering up the inside there again, but Lewis very carefully pinned him to the outside of the track.
I think Lewis was looking to cut off any threat down the inside. This has been quite the duel, and an unexpected duel between the Red Bull and the Mercedes, but not Verstappen and the Red Bull on that occasion.
But once again, what are we looking at? So Max is a 10th quicker through the middle part of this lap. 10th down in the first part is not all in it, but we've seen such raw speed, haven't we, of this Mercedes-Benz in the hand of Hamilton, particularly for the last 3 Grand Prix. And it's now Max in the turbulent air behind him. But yeah, we're not even halfway through yet.
What else could happen on this night of all nights for Formula One here at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix? Hamilton leads, still has one hand and a little bit on that championship trophy. Max Verstappen is going to try and keep pace with him, but he's struggling to do that as it stands currently. Yuki Tsunoda runs in 3rd place. He hasn't pitted yet. Neither has Valtteri Bottas. Sergio Perez has, currently in 5th place, and we can head down to 10.
Kimi Raikkonen has made his last scheduled stop in Formula One, Crofty. It was okay. Wasn't so quick, but it was all right. Maybe a sort of summing up the latter stages of a career if you were cynical about it. But yeah, it was not bad. Right, let's move to Lando Norris. And even though stopping early, he hasn't managed to close any time on Carlos Sainz. Actually, Carlos Sainz has extended his lead over Lando Norris. And now Lando Norris has got Sebastian Vettel, who hasn't pitted yet, between him and the Ferrari. So Sainz securing what is going to end up to be a fight for P5, P6.
Goodbye, Kimi Raikkonen, Ferrari's last world champion. He retires from Formula One this evening. Farewell, possibly forever, but hopefully not, to Antonio Giovinazzi, his teammate at Alfa Romeo. And happy birthday, Tonio, for Tuesday as well. Valtteri Bottas says farewell to Mercedes as he moves to Alfa Romeo. George Russell says goodbye to Williams and hello to Mercedes for next season. We say goodbye to the 13-inch tyre in Formula One tonight. It's 18 inches for next season. The barge board, as you said on the grid walk, Martin, it's a goodbye to the barge board for 2022. First appeared back in 1993, did the barge board, and it's also farewell to Paul James, Team Operations Director, the man who sits on the pit wall at McLaren.
So we're going to the end? We're looking what we can do to help Max.
Paul, after...
So consider plan A for now. Consider plan A for now. Let's push on.
And Paul, after 26 seasons with McLaren, is opting to stay back at base, and we won't see him on the pit wall for next season.
Little frozen tear on my cheek for we're losing Kimi Raikkonen.
Yeah.
The man who doesn't have adrenaline in his bloodstream, he has antifreeze.
Kimi Raikkonen, the most Grand Prix starts by any driver. The man who, before this race, had raced 57,454 miles in Formula One. I think he's due to put his feet up, but I get the feeling he'll be racing in something. That's very much in his veins.
What did he say to me in that interview on Saturday? I hate it. I hate everything. He's so over. He loves driving a Formula One car. He's so over anything else to do with being a Formula One driver.
Not pocket deal ever. Again. And he said with a smile on his face. Sebastian Vettel has come into the pits. That's why you see him dropping down into 16th place. So those that haven't pitted so far, Valtteri Bottas doing a sterling job on those medium compound tyres. Fernando Alonso and Pierre Gasly, who are on the hard tyres to start off with. And also Nicholas Latifi and George Russell also still going quite long with their first stint.
As we said in Brazil, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Red Bull and Verstappen don't have an answer to Hamilton and Mercedes' raw speed.
And the engine that's powering Lewis Hamilton made its debut, of course, in Brazil, where he took a penalty on the grid for the Grand Prix, took an even bigger penalty for the sprint race, started that last, and then started 10th for the Grand Prix, went on to win it. And Brazil was the start of quite a treble of races for Lewis Hamilton, where he's won the last 3, and for the 8th time in his career, on course at the moment to win 4 in a row. What have Red Bull and Max Verstappen got up their sleeves? What can they do strategically? Will Sergio Perez come back into the equation again?
Look at these two, yet again. They're 20 seconds clear of the rest of the pack. Such is the form that they're both on, and wow, what a privilege it's been to watch these two this year.
Yeah, we see drivers coming and going in Formula One. We can remember Lewis Hamilton's debut in Melbourne all those years ago in 2007, where he went round the outside of his experienced teammate and world champion Fernando Alonso. At the first corner, he has gone on to absolutely dominate in Formula One, and for the last 1,506 days, Lewis Hamilton has been world champion. But it was pretty clear from the outset that Verstappen would soon be challenging him. Didn't take long, Martin, for you to say that Verstappen will be a world champion one day. It might still be his day here in Abu Dhabi this evening, but he's going to have to produce a pretty epic champions drive from here.
I did say that back in 2016. I didn't think it would take until at least 2022 before it happened.
So this was on lap 20. Lewis Hamilton trying to get past Sergio Perez, and if he was wary of any contact with the Red Bull, he certainly didn't show it. He left enough space.
Michael, it's a bit dangerous. Can you warn them?
So far they're racing, Toto, hard racing.
And I agree with Michael Massey, the race director.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think... I fully expected Sergio to lunge back up the inside down into turn 6, but...
Meanwhile, as we watch what happened on lap 20 between Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton and how they came very, very close together, I think Kimi Raikkonen's Formula One career has come to an end, and he's stopped out on track. He's had a bit of a brush with the barriers, but he's managed to keep going again. There is Kimi Raikkonen, damage to the left-hand side of his front wing end plates. Well, can Kimi Raikkonen get back to the pits, change his front wing and make it to the checkered flag, because in his last race we want to see Kimi Räikkönen take the checkered flag here, but he's definitely had a brush with the barriers, Martin, and this can often happen in the final race of somebody's career.
Yeah, the brakes.
So it sounds like he's got a braking issue. So that's because he's going slower than you'd imagine. I mean, the front wing's fine, but let's see what happened.
So this is down into turn 6, and
Right.
that absolutely looked like a braking issue.
Yeah, it's like pulling the handbrake on. The brake-by-wire has led him down there somewhere, and the rear axle has locked on him.
The brake-by-wire system helps the very skinny rear brakes adjust themselves somewhat with some engine braking and retardation to stop the cars at the end of the straight doing 200 miles an hour in the space of about 80 metres. Ted, down to you.
Oh, Kimi, it's not going to end like this, is it? They're checking out the front of the car. They're having a look whether there's anything they can see that's wrong with the brakes. Something stopped in the team.
2 seconds, Ted.
Lost drive.
He's turned the car off. He's turned the car off. George Russell's been struggling with upshifts in his gearbox for the last lap or two. Wanted to come in when you're on the replays of the Sergio Perez and Lewis Hamilton, and now he's lost drive as well. So if George doesn't make it back to the pits and stops out onto the track, that could be a virtual safety car that might help Valtteri Bottas. But oh, Kimi, he's getting a round of applause. They're on their feet in the grandstand, giving him a round of applause to say thank you, Kimi, for everything. We loved you. You're such a character, but that's it.
Yeah, thank you, Kimi Räikkönen. You know what you're doing. We will leave you alone now. George Russell limping back to the pits meanwhile, saying on the team radio he's lost drive. It's been a bit of a struggle in this race throughout for George Russell. And this is the moment where his power unit stopped delivering the power that he really wanted.
So it was 5th gear, he pulled 2 and it broke. Sad moment. He did leave F1 back in 2009, did a couple of years of rallying. Said he didn't expect to be back in Formula 1 at that point.
So glad he did, and we'll all remember the US Grand Prix in 2018 and what a magnificent victory that was for Kimi. What a career it's been. Mark Arnold with him, his personal trainer, who's been by his side throughout. Kimi wearing the replica helmets of his first helmets in Formula 1 from all those years ago when he made his debut with Sauber back in 2001. And it's all come to an end, not just for him, but for George Russell as well. Both out of this race. Karun, to you.
Yeah, Crofty, I think Red Bull are starting to think about the second pit stop. They've just asked Max Verstappen for a front wing update, which means, what do you want us to change when you come in the pits? And they wouldn't be asking that if he wasn't going to come in. So I think they've got to roll the dice and do something different. The tricky thing is, Bottas is inside.
It's a long way with his tyres, I think.
Copy.
That's right. So if Mercedes are also looking, I'm sure they're listening to Verstappen's radio, Bottas is in Verstappen's pit window at the moment. So it's a little bit tricky for Max to pit right now, but they are going to watch that for a second pit stop, I think.
So would Lewis Hamilton, saying that he's got a long way to go on these tyres, have to cover Max Verstappen if Verstappen pits again?
He would. He's got 3.6 seconds at the moment. Verstappen just did a personal best. He's done a personal best first sector. Remember before I said when he had 4.8, 5 odd seconds, they had enough fat in the system to react one lap later. 3.6, bit of a sticky wheel nut, or what, that's not enough where you'd say, yeah, we'll just pit after Max pits.
And Max Verstappen, as we see his partner Kelly Piquet watching on from the Red Bull garage. Max Verstappen has a new set of hard tyres that they could fit on. They haven't got any new sets of tyres to put on Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes. We're on lap 29 or lap 30 now of 58 if you're watching in the UK and Ireland on Sky Q or Sky Glass. Press your red button if you want to watch the highlights of this race so far alongside the live action. And if Red Bull are thinking of a pit stop, then then Hamilton might have just been given a wake-up by the team to say, come on, it's hammer time here, Lewis. We could do with a bit of a bigger gap between yourself and Max.
She's now got up to just over 4 seconds, as you can see top left. But
So one more lap, everything you got.
Hammer time for Valtteri Bottas too, running in third place at the moment. Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas, who hasn't pitted. Perez running in fourth, has made a stop. Alonso and Gasly still to stop in this race, running fifth and sixth. Sainz ahead of Norris, Leclerc ahead of Tsunoda. That's the top 10. Outside of that, Esteban Ocon starting to up his pace a little bit, but quite a bit behind Yuki Tsunoda in the points. Daniel Ricciardo running in 12th, Giovinazzi 13th, Vettel, Stroll, Schumacher, Latifi, who's a lap down, and we've lost Kimi Räikkönen from this race, and George Russell, whose Williams' career ends with consecutive DNFs.
Yeah, so 17 runners, so obviously you've got less and less chance of virtual or actual safety cars, or even a red flag, of course, as well. So it becomes a strategy race in that respect, and you're right, Lewis has put the hammer down, and the gap just squeezing a little bit further out, isn't it? But this is a key time.
Well, Red Bull have a gap to drop Max Verstappen into. They can pit him, and he could well come out ahead of Valtteri Bottas, who is yet to stop and actually coming into the pits now. So will this make up Red Bull's mind a little bit? And it looks like it's Valtteri Bottas coming into the pits. It looks like Verstappen is going to stay out for at least one more lap. So there's a definite gap now to pit Verstappen into. But is there enough time for Verstappen to make up the difference between 4 seconds and 24 seconds to get Lewis Hamilton by the end?
They didn't look brand new tyres they put on Lewis's car, I didn't think, but we do know that both Red Bulls have got 2 new sets of hard compound tyres available, and they're only allocated 2 for the weekend.
Yeah.
So they haven't run them until the race. Seems slightly bizarre, doesn't it? But I guess they know enough about their tyres and their cars now. But yeah, it is. So we'll just keep an eye on whether Lewis has actually still got a brand new set. Don't know why they wouldn't have put them on, but they look like they've been slightly run.
1 new set of hards for Lewis Hamilton, 2, as Martin said, for the Red Bulls. Valtteri Bottas had a new set of hard compound tyres. He's chasing after the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc, with Yuki Tsunoda in the background. That was a lock-up there from the Ferrari. That's going to get Valtteri Bottas very interested now as they make their way out of the chicane and along the second of the back straights, past the support paddock, and Leclerc's weaving around a bit, trying to break the toe and doing a very decent job, but Bottas is still gaining on him into the new banked hairpin. We come at turn 9. Bottas just has to back off a little bit. No room past for the Finn on that particular occasion, and he sticks down in 9th place as the lights, the 4,700 spotlights that surround this wonderful track, this impressive facility here in Abu Dhabi, start to take effect. The lights from the hotel as well shining out to add even more colour as around the marina we wind our way and down the main straight. Leclerc keeping Bottas at bay.
So 4.6 up to 5 seconds now for Hamilton as Max Verstappen navigates, nearly just about navigates his way past Mick Schumacher to lap him. And now you're starting to see a big enough gap where you can react a lap later to your rivals.
Yeah, and even if you're half a second or so behind in terms of your length of pit stop, it shouldn't make too much difference. By the way, Red Bull have made 13 pit stops this season that are quicker than the fastest Mercedes pit stop. Mercedes with a fastest stop of the 2.1 seconds. Here comes Valtteri Bottas, having a look once again at the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Once again, not quite having the pace to get past the young Monegasque driver. Leclerc with a couple of pole positions this season, but no wins for him or his teammate. Ferrari facing consecutive winless seasons for the first time since 92 and 93. There goes Bottas, having a look down the inside, but there's no room for the Finn to try and force his way past.
No, a slightly naughty little wiggle there from Charles Leclerc into the new bank turn 9 of the steering wheel, and it somewhat cut off any ambition that Valtteri Bottas had there.
It's a track that offers overtaking opportunities. I was talking to Andreas Seidel, the McLaren team boss. He said there should be some tonight.
And Lewis, if we were to stop under safety car, would you prefer medium or hard?
Both tires felt good. There's not chance. 2.
So your choice. Keep your options open. Yeah, Seidel saying that we should have overtaking opportunities. quite like to see a little bit more. It's certainly been better than previous Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, but I'm not quite sure the track changes have gone far enough, Martin, to give us the overtaking opportunities we really want to see. And this is on board with Charles Leclerc, and I can watch this all night. What a brilliant view.
Yeah, your head moves around a lot, but somehow brilliantly your eyes can level that all out, as Bottas then in the slipstream with his rear wing open. But then looked nowhere near, is he? Nowhere near enough. But the tail end of that Ferrari has been sliding around in various corners. And Valtteri Bottas will get another helping now then of DRS as Leclerc moves right to try and break the slipstream. And then Bottas surely going to head up the inside, and surely not, because he, for some reason, went around the outside. And then, of course, Leclerc with track position.
Well, yep, you said it, Martin. Surely he should have got past round the outside. Other drivers might have been a little more brave. Valtteri Bottas deciding against that on that occasion. The previous lap and the previous lap before that. And his pain and suffering continues then. Stuck behind the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. Out in front, his teammate Lewis Hamilton. 5.5 seconds clear of Max Verstappen. We're on lap 34 of 58, and the championship trophy going Hamilton's way as it stands. Sergio Perez running in third. Red Bull with a double podium, but not enough.
Yeah, doing a good job. Really good job.
But not enough to deny Mercedes an 8th Constructors' Championship in a row. Behind Perez comes Alonso and Gasly. They still haven't come into the pits yet. Ted Kravitz.
That gap between Hamilton and Verstappen is just growing lap by lap. Hamilton is dropping Verstappen at this stage of the race. So there is inherent speed in that Mercedes, and Hamilton is using every bit of it. That race, you say, between Alonso and Gasly, we're not seeing it because there are other things more important perhaps going on, but it's really tight, Crofty. They're separated by only a second and a half each time round. I don't know which way it's going to go. Gasly's actually recovering well because it looked like Alpine was the faster car here, but Ocon out of the points at the moment in 11th. But Fernando holding on to P4 ahead of Gasly. The pit stop's not too far away for those two.
And at the fourth time of asking, Valtteri Bottas gets past Charles Leclerc, and it just seems that he had better traction coming out of the hairpin. And Charles Leclerc, as you mentioned, Martin, his rear end sliding around a little bit in previous laps, just didn't have the grip to brake as late as Bottas either and hold up the Mercedes for very much longer. So Bottas is now free then to chase after the car in front, which is Lando Norris. And what's this? This looks like a car moving slowly, maybe trying to get out of the way. Antonio Giovinazzi, either trying to get out of the way or he's got a problem.
No shifting, no shifting. And
Or maybe a bit of both.
Hydraulic issue then
for Antonio Giovinazzi. So one teammate in his final race in Formula One and the other teammate in his final race for the team and potentially Formula One are both retiring from this race. Now, where's he parked, Martin, in terms of could we get a safety car here?
He's parked in a tricky situation. He's a long way from the service road. He could have parked a bit closer to the service road. I see no option but to put out a virtual safety car there. It doesn't look like the sort of place you can just cover with double wave yellows and put marshals out there. You can see he's right in the firing line there on the exit of turn 9, which is a very fast corner. So I can't believe they'll cover that in anything other than a virtual safety car, which means then, of course, the leaders will pit.
He is parked in a very handy spot if he wants to go and pop onto a boat, like Kimi Räikkönen did once when he crashed out in Monaco. There is the virtual safety car, as you said, Martin. Not a very handy place indeed for moving that car. So, on the exit of turn 9, there is a stranded Alfa Romeo. We now have a virtual safety car. So, all the drivers decrease their speed by 40%. No overtaking. The race pretty much gets neutralised. But these cars can pit, and Ted Kravitz, I get the feeling some will be coming in.
So the Ferrari first of all is pitting, and it
10 seconds.
Staying out.
Lewis Hamilton is staying out.
Thought it would be an easy decision. Even if they're thinking of pitting later on, they're staying out. That's odd. So it is Charles Leclerc. Just waiting to see whether Fernando Alonso. Surely this is a gift for Alonso and Gasly to pit as well. The Alpine mechanics came out to the pit lane. They're just checking their wheel guns, hanging around like nothing's happening, like they haven't been told. And now they're sort of not doing anything. McLaren are coming out as well.
Ted, the reason Alonso and Gasly aren't pitting yet is they haven't reached turn 6 yet, but Verstappen's coming in, I think.
Box and pit confirm, please, Max. Box, pit confirm.
They have to.
You've got to, yeah.
It's a no-brainer, isn't it? It's a cheap pit stop, probably 10-odd seconds. Put some different tyres on it, and you know, there's a second set of brand new hard compound tyres. It's a no-brainer. They haven't got the pace to win this by catching and passing the Mercedes. So that was do whatever Hamilton doesn't do.
And he can also utilise this bit of track underneath the tunnel, maybe to shave off a little bit more time as well, because the safety car one line and won't be with him until he makes his exit from out of that tunnel and back onto the track again. Perez is going to pit too. So Hamilton continues to lead from Verstappen, but Verstappen's now got a brand new set of the hard compound tyre on, and he really can chase after him in a moment.
Michael, please, no safety car interferes in the race, please not.
And that's Toto Wolff saying, don't give us a safety car and close the pack up, especially now Max Verstappen's pitted on and is on fresher tyres. Can he do that sort of thing?
I don't think that's right, trying to influence the Michael Massey's got a safety. He's in charge of safety around here. And but I guess what Mercedes were nervous of there is if Hamilton pitted and Verstappen stayed out and kept track position. So it was really only ever going to play into Red Bull's hands, because they've kind of lost it at the moment. They've lost both championships at the moment, the way the race was unfolding. But you couldn't send marshals out into the exit of turn 9, 120, 130 mile an hour corner with just double wave yellow flags. You couldn't do it.
So the virtual safety car is ending as they are pushing that Alfa Romeo away.
So gap to Verstappen now, 17.9 seconds.
How is it 17? How has he not lost to 21 seconds?
VSC.
Well, you're going to be in trouble. Catch us up.
So a safety car, a virtual safety car or a safety car reduces your pit stop loss to about 13, 14 seconds. Normally, it's about 22 seconds. That is how Verstappen has got a cheaper second pit stop. But what this means now is that on lap 38 out of 58, it is very much all up for grabs, because Hamilton is on a set of tyres that have done 23 laps. Verstappen is on a new set of tyres that have now done 1 lap. So what is Verstappen's pace going to be between now and the checkered flag, and can he close down the gap between himself and Lewis Hamilton? Game on to the checkered flag. Under 17 seconds, the gap between Hamilton and Verstappen. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the way of it towards the end of the race, isn't it, Crofty? But I'm still sort of struggling to think, would there have been a way, even if Hamilton had come in, at least he would have been on new tyres. Yes, all right, Verstappen might have done the opposite, but Verstappen would have been on old tyres.
Okay, let's that gap at 17.0 for Verstappen. He will need 0.8 a lap on us to catch, so we just need to keep that in mind.
He might well get it, Crofty. It's exactly what he might have with those fresher tyres.
This is going to be an intriguing, absorbing, potentially thrilling, maybe controversial end, who knows, to the Formula One season. But the one thing I do know is it is not going to be dull. Stick with this, because that virtual safety car has come out at a very nice time for Red Bull and Max Verstappen, and Hamilton, with 1.5 hands on the trophy, is going to have to hang on.
It's got great speed, but remember, he said a while ago, I'm not sure these tyres will go to the end. They're 25 laps old already.
And on that last lap, the difference between Hamilton and Verstappen in terms of their lap times, 0.8 of a second.
This is going to need a Michael Schumacher-esque 20 qualifying laps.
Bit of a risk leave me out, no?
Yeah, the potential to lose track position, Lewis, too high.
That's what we were talking about, isn't it?
Yeah.
They knew Red Bull would do the opposite, and then of course any kind of issue between the two plays into Red Bull's hands. So they were kind of damned if they did and damned if they didn't. I'm surprised they didn't come in the pits, but that was their call. We don't want to lose track position to Max Verstappen, but I was starting to say they need to be Schumacher-esque qualifying laps now. Banzai, flat out, 20 perfect qualifying laps for Max Verstappen if he's going to rescue this World Championship.
There are nerves on the pit wall at Mercedes. There are nerves on the pit wall at Red Bull. Hamilton then ahead of Verstappen. The gap under 16 seconds. Perez runs in third place ahead of Sainz and Norris. Bottas in sixth. Tsunoda, Alonso, Gasly and Ocon. This is Fernando Alonso. That's how he got past Pierre Gasly, and that's how Gasly got repassed.
Yeah, he tried to push me off. I was in front in the corner braking, so still okay.
Now that's an old message, because Fernando would